But every single day.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. We're here to discuss the need for urgency legislation to reinstate California's law banning possession of body armor by violent felons. I'd like to acknowledge those who are present today with me in support of this very important undertaking. First of all, California Senator Alex Padilla, the bill's author, LAPD Chief Mike Moore, who will be speaking, Los Angeles Police Department Officer Jeffrey Rivera will also be speaking. We're also joined by LA City Attorney Carmen Trutanich, Chief Kim Rainey, representing the California Police Chiefs Association, Chief Jim Hudson, President of the LA County Police Chiefs Association, Chief Tom Lang, representing LA County Sheriff Lee Baca, Steve Remage, President of the Association of Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, Scott Raitt, here on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Protective League, Marshall McLean, President of the Los Angeles Airport Peace Officers Association, and Max Gonzalez, representing the Los Angeles School Police Association. And last but not least, Brian Moriguchi, President of the Los Angeles County Professional Peace Officers Association, and POPA's Executive Director, Paul Roller. The law prohibiting any person convicted of a violent felony from possessing body armor was challenged in the 2nd District Court of Appeal by an individual known as Ethan Salim. Salim had been convicted of voluntary manslaughter and was on parole when he was found in possession of a bulletproof vest. Last month, the State Court of Appeals overturned that ban. In its ruling, the court said, and I'm quoting from the court, as explained by cases construing bans on assault weapons, the void for vagueness doctrine requires such notice to be made in terms that are meaningful to people of ordinary intelligence. Essentially, they declared the existing law constitutionally vague. In response to this ruling, I am sponsoring Senate Bill 408, which was drafted by my appellate division deputies. It's being authored by Senator Padilla, and the bill does provide a straightforward, common-sense definition of body armor that will withstand constitutional scrutiny. The bill will make it again possible to charge a person convicted of a violent offense with a felony if found in possession of body armor. Senator Padilla and I are urging the legislature and Governor Schwarzenegger to respectively pass and for the governor to sign this bill and to treat it as urgency legislation to reinstate the ban. With that, I'll turn it over to the bill's author, Senator Padilla. All right, congratulations. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for being here, and certainly to District Attorney Cooley for his leadership on the issue and for bringing the issue to my attention immediately upon the court's ruling in December. I also appreciate the presence of all of our friends from the law enforcement community who are here to show their support for what is an important tool to protect the men and women in the line of duty throughout Los Angeles and throughout the state of California. We're here to urge the immediate passage of Senate Bill 408, which I have authored, that would, as the district attorney explained, once again prohibit convicted felons from purchasing, owning, or possessing body armor such as bulletproof vests. You know, all of us here in the Los Angeles area remember all too well the North Hollywood shootout from 1997. If you think back 1997, it wasn't all that long ago when 2 bank robbers, covered from head to toe in body armor, were able to engage more than 200 Los Angeles Police Department officers in an hour-long gun battle. That shootout took place in my Senate district. Shots fired by officers that day literally bounced off the bank robbers. In fact, it wasn't until additional officers responded to the scene with higher caliber weapons that the incident finally came to an end, but not until 11 police officers and 6 civilians were tragically wounded. You know, after that horrific day, legislators, policymakers at both the state and the federal level responded. At the time, I happened to be working for Senator Dianne Feinstein, who worked in the shootout aftermath to further strengthen and tighten the assault weapons ban. But in Sacramento, lawmakers took action as well. The bill introduced that year, the James Gulf Body Armor Act of 1998, was approved and signed into law and remained on the books for more than a decade until the court ruling last month, as District Attorney Cooley just explained. Barring violent felons from possessing body armor is an essential tool to maintain the safety of our law enforcement officials and the public at large. This bill would reinstate and strengthen the law on the books by making it a felony for violent felons to possess body armor of any type, not just bulletproof vests. We're not alone in experiencing this problem in California. The problem continues. In fact, earlier this week, a gunman suspected of killing 8 people in Virginia was wearing a bulletproof vest when he was apprehended by police. Violent felons have no business possessing body armor. It's just plain and simple. I intend to move this bill through the legislative process and to the governor's desk as quickly as possible so we can reinstate the prohibition without delay. 3 days ago, the Senate Public Safety Committee approved Senate Bill 408. Just yesterday, the Senate Appropriations Committee approved Senate Bill 408. So where's the bill now? We expect it to come up for a vote on the Senate floor this week coming up. But we need a 2/3 vote. So this part of our message today, to enact this bill on an urgency basis, requires a 2/3 vote of the legislature. Never an easy task. And while the bill enjoys tremendous bipartisan support, I take nothing for granted. So we're asking all of you to contact your state senators, contact your members of the state assembly as well, and urge their support of SB 408 and urge their support as quickly as possible so we can bring this protection back to our law enforcement personnel and the community as a whole. Again, I thank the law enforcement community and particularly District Attorney Cooley for their leadership on this issue, and I thank you all for being here this morning.
Well, thank you very much, Senator, and I'd like to stress, as the Senator did, that possession of body armor by violent felons is not just a law enforcement issue. This is also a matter of serious public safety concern. Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore can attest to this fact. We all witnessed, as the Senator mentioned, the 1997 North Hollywood shootout. Those violent felons were in possession of body armor. They had no regard for the public when they exchanged gunfire with the police. Those bloody and violent encounters, of course, present an immediate threat to our law enforcement personnel out there patrolling the streets and protecting us all. And with us today is Jeffrey Rivera, Officer Jeffrey Rivera, who arrested Mr. Salim. And I think that as far as this press conference goes, his story is going to be the highlight. At the time of Salim's arrest, he was wearing a 10-pound military-style vest similar to the one that we have on display here. But I think it's best to let Chief Moore give his perspective on this, and then we will conclude the press conference with Officer Rivera. Chief Moore.
Thank you. And on behalf of Chief of Police Charlie Beck, I'm proud to be here today and stand in unison with not only the District Attorney as well as Senator Padilla, but also the men and women from a number of law enforcement agencies across this state, as well as the men and women, their collective bargaining units and their representatives. Simply stated, there's no compelling reason for a convicted violent felon to wear a bulletproof vest, except one. And that is, people wear bulletproof vests to primarily protect themselves while they're engaged in a gun battle. So body armor or no body armor for a convicted violent felon is really an easy choice. It should be a simple prohibition. And with this overturning of the 1998 law, however, we believe that the court identified a concern that there be a due process notice, that there not be any vagueness to this. And while we strongly disagree with that as individuals, we respect the law and we follow the law, including the interpretation by the courts in regards to this matter of Ethan Salim versus the people of California. But it doesn't relieve us from providing sound leadership in response to these type of decisions. The Chief of Police, Charlie Beck, wrote an open letter to California Attorney General Brown urging him to forge an immediate appeal. It now appears that a new law would be faster than such an appeal. We think, and more importantly, the legal minds here think, that the legislation we are backing here today will overcome any similar challenge and restore the protections that our men and women in law enforcement so readily deserve. I appreciate the support and the leadership we have here today from District Attorney Steve Cooley as well as Senator Padilla. And as we hire the best people we can find and we give them the best training and we continually ask them to go out into harm's way, we also have an obligation to them, and that is that we stand and protect them, that we afford them every protection, every safeguard. And as they go out in this profession with many unknowns, this is one they should not have to face. Because as we know that a person is a violent, convicted felon, and we allow that circumstance to exist where they can possess body armor without a violation of the law, and we know that to be such an unacceptable circumstance, we stand here with others urging an immediate action on this bill, that its passage be swift, that its enactment be immediate so that this protection can be restored for the men and women, one of which is standing behind me. And I really do look forward to hear from Officer Jeffrey Rivera and his remarks because he is one of the men that were out there that day that confronted this individual, Ethan Salim, a convicted felon, and dealt with him in a sense of making sure that he was held accountable for wearing this ballistic body armor. A circumstance that if confronted today, we would not be able to take action against him. And that is just entirely intolerable. Thank you all.
Officer Rivera.
I first of all would like to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to be here and share my story. For my brothers and sisters out there on the streets, thank you very much for your support. I'd like to share in regards to what happened in 2007 when I arrested Mr. Salim. It was during a traffic stop in a high narcotics area that we encountered Mr. Salim inside a vehicle. Upon ordering him out of the vehicle, he was uncompliant or not being non-compliant to our orders initially when we ordered him out of the vehicle. Upon him becoming compliant to our orders and finally stepping out of the vehicle, when he turned around to face my partner and I observed that underneath his jacket he was wearing a camouflage styled vest similar to those vests that I wore during my time in the military and those that we used while on deployment to Iraq. Immediately recognizing what I had in front of me, an armed possible suspect with a vest, I immediately notified my partner of my findings. At that point, my partner had an urban police rifle, and we deployed it tactically to take Mr. Salim into custody. Upon bringing Mr. Salim into custody, he advised us that he was on parole for voluntary manslaughter, and the vest was given to him by a family member who was in the military. We were fortunate that evening that Mr. Salim was not armed, but still it did bring a lot of questions in regards to suspects being armed with vests and the capabilities that they might have in order to defend themselves in the event that something were to happen. They would be able to protect themselves with ballistic vests.
Thank you very much, Officer. Any questions at all for anyone up here?
Mr. District Attorney, could you tell me now what the new definition of body armor is so that I can understand what it is? Is it a bulletproof vest?
We wrote that down on the press, very carefully selected words that essentially defines it as body armor, something that is resistant to ballistic. I'll get you the exact language here, but it's instead of defining as we have been doing by referring to manufacturer specifications, It is now defined in very simple and plain language, which we have right here, don't we? In your folder there. I'll be happy to read it to you.
Please.
Defines SB 408 defines body armor as, quote, any bullet-resistant material intended to provide ballistic and trauma protection for the person wearing body armor. All right, that is
Cover a bulletproof vest, a variety.
it's a lot broader than we had before, and it's certainly a lot more understandable to a person of what they call normal intelligence. They know what this means when we say it, whereas before it was referencing a number of manufacturer specifications, which quite frankly may not have given proper notice to a person of normal intelligence.
Or might change over time. This definition is also consistent with other areas of state statute already, so it's consistent.
Oh, I have a question. If anybody, 2/3 in both houses
Yes, sir.
for the urgency?
Yes, that's what it takes to get something enacted immediately upon signature of the governor. I don't think this is something that we can afford to wait till January 1st of next year to reinstate.
Any other questions? If not, thank you. All the people up here will be available for any questions if you have any.